Finding the resultant vector. Grade 12 Physical Sciences. A vector is a quantity that has both magnitude and direction. When two or more vectors act on the same object at the same time, we can replace all of them with one single vector that has exactly the same effect. That single vector is called the resultant. In this lesson, we will find the resultant of vectors in one dimension, and then of perpendicular vectors in 2 dimensions. Rule 1. When vectors point in the same direction, you simply add their magnitudes. Take vector A, 8 newtons east, and vector B, 5 newtons east. Draw them tail to head. 8 plus 5 gives 13, so the resultant is 13 newtons east. Notice that the resultant keeps the same direction as the 2 original vectors, and always state that direction. A magnitude on its own is not a vector. Rule 2. When vectors point in opposite directions, subtract the smaller magnitude from the larger one and keep the direction of the larger vector. Now, let vector A be 8 newtons east and vector B be 5 newtons west. 8 minus 5 is 3. The resultant is 3 newtons east because the 8 newton vector is the larger one. The 2 vectors partly cancel each other out. Here is a neat trick that turns both rules into one. Choose a positive direction and state it clearly. Let us take east as positive. Then east vectors are positive, west vectors are negative, and you simply add them algebraically. 8 plus 5 is plus 13, so 13 newtons east. 8 plus negative 5 is plus 3, so 3 newtons east. A positive answer means east, and a negative answer means west. Always turn that sign back into a direction in your final answer. Worked example 1. 3 forces act on a crate along a straight line. 12 newtons east, 7 newtons west, and 4 newtons east. Find the resultant force. Step 1. Take east as positive. Step 2. Add them algebraically. Plus 12 minus 7 plus 4. 12 minus 7 is 5, and 5 plus 4 is 9. Step 3. Interpret the sign. The answer is plus 9, so the resultant is 9 newtons east. But what if the vectors are not in the same line? In grade 12s, you must also handle perpendicular vectors, that is, vectors at 90 degrees to each other. Here, you may not simply add the magnitudes. Draw the 2 vectors tail to head, and they form a right-angled triangle, with the resultant as the hypotenuse. Use the theorem of Pythagoras for the magnitude and the tangent ratio for the direction. R squared equals x squared plus y squared, and theta equals the inverse tangent of y over x. Worked example 2. A boat is pushed by a force of 8 newtons east and a force of 6 newtons north. Find the resultant. First, sketch the right-angled triangle. For the magnitude, R squared equals 8 squared plus 6 squared. That is 64 plus 36, which is 100. So R is 10 newtons. For the direction, theta equals the inverse tangent of 6 over 8, which gives 36.87 degrees. The resultant is 10 newtons at 36.87 degrees north of east. Never leave out the angle. The direction is worth half of the marks. 2 constructions are allowed. Tail to head. Draw the first vector, then start the second vector where the first one ends. The resultant runs from the very first tail to the very last head. Or tail to tail. Draw both vectors from the same point and complete the parallelogram. The diagonal is the resultant. If a question says by accurate construction and measurement, then you must use a ruler, a protractor, and a clearly stated scale. For example, 1 centimeter represents 2 newtons. Exam tips. 1. Always draw a rough sketch first, even when you are calculating. 2. State your chosen positive direction. 3. Give both magnitude and direction in your final answer, with the correct unit. 4. Pythagoras only works for perpendicular vectors, never for vectors in the same straight line. 5. Check that your answer is sensible. For two vectors, the resultant can never be bigger than their sum and never smaller than their difference. Now it's your turn. Question 1. 5 newtons east plus 9 newtons east. Question 2. 15 newtons north and 22 newtons south. Question 3. 9 newtons west and 12 newtons south. Pause the video and try them. Here are the answers. 14 newtons east, 7 newtons south, and 15 newtons at 53.13 degrees south of west. Remember the golden rule. Same direction? Add. Opposite directions? Subtract and keep the direction of the bigger vector. Perpendicular? Use Pythagoras. Good luck with your exam.